The legal noose is beginning to tighten around the neck of Hillary Clinton. Illegals continue to flow into the United States, only now they're suing us because they don't like the way they're being treated. Russia jails a Muslim man for calling for jihad, and the Council of Islamic Ideology says the mere existence of women contradicts the will of Allah. My name is Howard Riell, and this is Real Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com, and on Facebook, and on YouTube, and on Tumblr, and in the book, Real Truth, Stay Angry. And of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM. The Lion. The call-in number is 877-254-7524. My friends, welcome back. Let's get busy. Item from Jews News. The Council of Islamic Ideology concluded their 192nd meeting with the ruling that women are un-Islamic and that their mere existence contradicted Sharia and the will of Allah. As the meeting concluded, CII Chairman Maulana Muhammad Khan Shirani noted that women, by existing, defied the laws of nature, and to protect Islam and the Sharia, women should be forced to stop existing as soon as possible. The announcement comes a couple of days after CII's 191st meeting, where they dubbed laws related to minimum marriage age to be un-Islamic. After declaring women to be un-Islamic, Shirani explained that there were actually two kinds of women, haram and makruh. We can divide all women in the world into two distinct categories, those who are haram and those who are makruh. Now, the difference between haram and makruh is that the former is categorically forbidden, while the latter is really, really disliked, Shirani said. He further went on to explain how the women around the world can ensure that they get promoted to being a makruh from just being downright haram. Quote, any woman that exercises her will is haram, absolutely haram, and is conspiring against Islam and the Ummah, whereas those women who are totally subservient can reach the status of being makruh. Such is the generosity of our ideology, and such is the endeavor of Muslim men like us, who are the true torchbearers of gender equality, the CII chairman added, unquote. Are you expecting me to say something about this? Need I? Item from CNN Dateline Washington. Speaking of women who are haram, Hillary Clinton agreed to turn over her private email server to authorities on Tuesday, the same day an Intelligence Community Inspector General told congressional committees that at least 5 emails from the server did contain classified information. The decision to hand over the server, as well as a thumb drive of all her work-related emails to the Justice Department, represents an effort to blunt an expanding probe into her use of a private email account. Unquote. Related item from the Associated Press. Back to Washington. Hillary Rodham Clinton's presidential campaign cast her decision to turn over her personal email server to the Justice Department as cooperating with investigators. Her Republican critics suggest that the move and new revelations about classified information points to her malfeasance as Secretary of State. 2 emails that traversed Clinton's personal system contained information that had been designated top secret and sensitive compartmented information, one of the government's highest classification ratings, U.S. officials said. Federal investigators have begun looking into the security of Clinton's email setup after the Inspector General of the U.S. Intelligence Agency said that classified information may have passed through the system. There's no evidence she used encryption to prevent prying eyes from accessing the emails or her personal server. Unquote. My friends, only a cynic would suggest that Hillary Clinton left this classified information available to widespread scrutiny because she'd received money for the Clinton Foundation to do so, and I would never, ever, ever suggest that. Got it? Is it possible that she left this information, classified information, or everybody could see it because she's an inept fool? My friends, I needn't state the obvious. Item from CBS Miami, Dateline Pembroke Pines. An investigation is underway after a dog was found dead in Pembroke Pines with a note attached to its body that said, quote, "We beat it to death, LOL," unquote. The 13-year-old Pomeranian named Fox had been in Verline Barthelony's family for 13 years and lived with her and her life mate, Ronald Boisvert, for the last 8 years. The dog and disturbing note were found behind the family's condo building. It was taken to St. Francis Animal Hospital, where a veterinarian examined it and found it had multiple fractures. Dr. Ron Ridge said Fox had 10 broken ribs, missing teeth, and a broken back. The vet says Fox was likely kicked to death. Unquote. My friends, a lot of people like to talk about the apocalypse and the Armageddon. Generally, I don't. But now I will. What is it? What is the apocalypse? If you look at movies and TV, the apocalypse is mushroom clouds, nuclear bombs going off, devastating the world, leading to something like Mad Max. Nah, that's not the apocalypse. The apocalypse is the world becoming unlivable. Could be because of the destruction of the rainforests, could be the pollution of our seas, the dying off of fish in the ocean. A lot of things make life unlivable. People are losing their minds. Society's boundaries on human behavior are loosening. And so those who are even mildly unbalanced feel free to let loose and let her rip. And that's why we're seeing outrages like this. For reasons unknown, someone felt like beating a dog to death, so they did. And then they left a note with a smiley face on it. So let's talk about the apocalypse, because this, if not the actual apocalypse, is certainly a sign of its rapid approach. I've said it before, it's become a cliche. Our society is coming apart at the seams. And this is an example of it. How do we prevent it? Well, I'm not at all sure that we can. Maybe we can survive it. Can we prevent it? Our society shows no desire en masse to prevent it. Yeah, there are some people talking about it, like me, probably like you, but most people, just give them their TV, give them some drugs, give them some alcohol, give them some porn online, and they are fine. Well, it's not fine on this show. This show is real truth. We'll be right back. My friends, welcome back to Real Truth. Howard Riell reporting. Hillary Clinton, my dear personal good friend, Hillary Clinton, or Shirlery as I like to call her, is in the news again. You know all about it. She was handing out classified information because she's an inept fool, as previously mentioned. Anyway, here's a report from Fox News Judge Napolitano weighing in on the fact that Hillary is an inept fool. Well, he doesn't say that, but I say it because I'm not on Fox News yet. Here we go.
Hillary Clinton's personal email server to be handed over to the FBI. And two emails on her private account have been classified as top secret. All right, just the Napolitano is here. Judge, you have news to break. The email server is not to be handed over. It has already been in possession of the FBI for a week. She announced last night she was going to hand it over to the FBI at a time that she knew they already had it. They got it at the same time as they got the thumb drive version from her lawyer. So they've gone into it. Yes, we don't know what they found. That's news number one. News number two. And this is pretty generic, but it's news. So they've had it for a week. So if she has deleted those emails, unless she took a blowtorch or a sledgehammer to that server, the FBI can extract those 33,000 emails that you deleted. So we can with it. Will be with it. Can be with it. Can be with it. Correct. The FBI investigates for federal crimes and for breaches of national security. They're not interested in gossip. They're not interested in her efforts to rewrite history and make herself look better, smarter, brighter than she actually was when she was Secretary of State. But her evidence of crimes in there for breaches of national security. That's what they're looking for. Could you prolifically? Probably not. I don't think so. I think this is so grave that it is beyond the president appointed all prosecutors and they're all Democrats argument. This is now in the hands of serious FBI professionals and serious prosecutorial professionals who will do their duty and follow the evidence no matter where it leads them.
My friends, that doesn't happen very much these days. I beg to differ with the judge, for whom I have great respect. The fact that they're at the FBI means nothing. The FBI is controlled by politics. The prosecutors are controlled by politics. Hillary Clinton is one of the favored few. She walks between raindrops, and so I am not hopeful that any real meaningful justice will be brought in this case. I hope I'm wrong. Let's continue.
I do not think we're in a phase any longer where she can expect to be protected because the U.S. attorneys are appointed by a Democratic president.
No, but she can expect to be protected because she's one of the elite. She's one of the 1%. Her husband is Bill Clinton, which is why Hillary's gotten anything in her life. So yes, she will be protected, and as much as I would love to see her in a jail cell, it's not going to happen. You know it, and I know it. Back to Fox News.
Make a difference. Okay. Now, if they find, and they have found, two top secret emails, 3, not out of 88 targets, and they have 40. They randomly sampled 40. They found 1 that were classified, of which 2 were top secret. Top secret. Now, if she says, I didn't know they were classified, or I didn't know they should have been classified, is that a defense? No, that is not a defense under national
Now, my friends, if you want to send Hillary Clinton some gifts in prison, like bars of soap, she doesn't use them. Cigarettes to bribe the screws, I guess you could send her cigarettes. Hopefully, you'll need to do that sooner rather than later, not just because I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan, but in order to show America that there aren't two levels of justice, one for the connected and one for the regular slobs like me. I'd like to see real justice applied to Hillary Clinton the way it was never applied to Richard Nixon. Item from Observer.com. In the beginning of the year, the Washington Post ran an opinion piece from alternate editor Riell Germain Starr with an eye-catching headline. A cop in Ukraine said he was detaining me because I was black. I appreciated it. According to Mr. Starr, who visited Ukraine in 2009, back then people with different skin color had routinely faced housing discrimination. Police treated them as suspects in drug smuggling crimes, and occasionally the reporter, quote, encountered young men dressed in black shirts and Doc Martens who would throw up the Nazi salute in my direction, unquote. In other words, racism in Ukraine was much more blunt than in the U.S., always in my face, unabashed, and in plain view, unquote. My friends, racism anywhere is unacceptable, and so to Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, I'd like to wish bon voyage. Item from the BrownsvilleHerald.com, Dateline, McAllen, Texas. A recent immigrant influx and changes in immigration policy could be to blame for the unprecedented influx of overnight stays last month at a local relief center. The Immigrant Relief Center, which Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley opened 14 months ago at Sacred Heart Church downtown, saw nearly 3 times the average number of immigrants staying overnight over the last 30 days. This recent increase has changed the way the center processes migrants and prompted Sister Norma Pimentel, executive director, to request an additional tent, which was installed last week by city workers. Unquote, my friends, instead of an additional tent, why not some additional cops to arrest these illegals and send them back to Mexico? Item from the American Mirror. A group of illegal aliens are now complaining about the conditions in which they're being held and seeking millions in damages for their psychological harm. Unquote. My friends, it was only a few minutes ago I was talking about Armageddon, right? Apocalypse, right? Well, I wouldn't say that the flood of illegals coming over the border is itself the apocalypse, but the fact that the most powerful country in the world can't and won't defend its own border, the fact that the United States is allowing millions of illegals in, which is allowing viruses and germs into the human body, the fact that people can break the law by coming in here and then use the law to sue because they're not getting everything they want means common sense has come to an end, to a shuddering crash. If there's anything that signals the coming of the apocalypse, with a capital A, it's the end of common sense. Because that's the end of thought, it's the end of reasonableness, it's the end of the rule of law, and it's the end of anything even resembling of civil society. And once you no longer have a civil society in, of all places, America, then we'll have all lapsed into third world chaos. And no, there is no more civilization. Certainly not a civilization worthy of being preserved. Item from USA Today, Dateline, D.C. Senator Bernie Sanders, a candidate for the Democratic presidential nomination, announced Friday he will support an agreement with Iran to limit its nuclear program. Stop, Bernie, Bernie! It was clear that Bernie Sanders wasn't firing on all pistons when he came out publicly as a socialist. Everybody knows socialism doesn't work. Everyone knows it's a bad fit for America. Everyone knows it'll just make things worse. Bernie doesn't know that. And so he's kind of sort of unhinged. Now when he comes out and says the Iran deal, which forces nothing on Iran, which secures nothing, which gives them free rein to develop their nuclear program while giving America nothing, if he says that plan is okay, then certainly Bernie Sanders is unhinged from reality even more than I and other people suspected. He is now one of those guys I used to see in Brooklyn down at the courthouse with, on a sunny day, sunny summer day, in a trench coat, old dirty trench coat with a shopping wagon, foam coming from their mouths, screaming about God knows what. That's Bernie Sanders. Item from Interfax. Kaliningrad prosecutors have backed the charges against the 25-year-old resident of Kaliningrad, who was found guilty by the court of terrorist and extremist crimes. The man, whose last name is Lisovets, and who has no job and a criminal record for crimes against citizens' health, repeatedly posted information calling on Muslims to participate in armed jihad and use military methods of fighting people of different faiths on his Vkontakte account. In the period between September 2013 and March 2014, the press service for the reasons prosecutors had reported on August 12. Stop, my friends. We know, because it's been widely reported, it's been researched and widely reported, that a large majority of mosques in the United States either hand out literature calling for jihad or give fiery speeches calling for jihad. Why not shut them down based on those? We see Russia doesn't play games. This guy's putting stuff on the internet about jihad, so his ass is in jail. Should we jail anyone who has any connection with jihad talk here in America? Well, yeah, as a first step. The second step must be to transfer their asses out of this country and close the mosques. That's the only real way to protect America from terrorism, right? You know what I'm saying is true. Item from the Sydney Morning Herald in Australia. Islamic State has hacked the personal information of Australian Defence Force employees and their relatives, a Victorian Member of Parliament and several public servants, and urged homegrown terrorists to attack them in a chilling online breach. Many of the Australians whose mobile phone numbers, email addresses, online passwords, and home suburbs were published had no idea their safety had been compromised until contacted by Fairfax Media on Wednesday. Islamic State bragged for hours on social media about the dump of information relating to more than 1,400 people, most of them supposedly U.S. military personnel, and accompanied it with a terrifying call to arms. But Australian authorities were caught on their heels, with defense personnel and the Victorian Member of Parliament among those who were unaware of the hack. This is despite Australia's most senior Islamic State militant, former Melbourne man and terror recruiter Neil Prakash, posting links to the information on social media about 4:30 a.m. on Wednesday, unquote. My friends, this would appear to be an alarmist news item, but don't worry, because you have nothing to worry about unless there are Muslims in your country. And there are no Muslims in Australia, right? I'm sorry, what do you say? Oh, there are Muslims in Australia. Oh, in that case, if I were them, I'd be real scared. But that's okay for us because there are no Muslims in America. And so, I'm sorry, what? Oh, there are Muslims in America. Oops. Item from Western journalism. With the Republican Party in control of both congressional chambers, retired U.S. Navy Admiral James Lyons Jr. recently expressed his hope that lawmakers will work to stem the tide of Muslim extremists attaining powerful positions within the nation's intelligence community. Stop. My friends, the oxymoron is more than I can stand. It takes a shocking, shuddering, and obscene lack of intelligence to allow Muslims into sensitive positions in our government. And of all the places for Muslims, thanks to this lack of intelligence, to be placed is in America's intelligence community. Some people think God has no sense of humor. I see this as the most chilling type of humor. Taking our most deadly enemies and putting them in precisely the place where they can do the most damage is not only theater of the absurd, but it is yet another sign of the impending apocalypse. We'll take a break. That appears to be the word of the day today, apocalypse. We'll be right back.
That was the true life of every man.
see what we got here. I'm trying to queue up a video. Taking a while.
Growing up in Southwest, we provided
Getting close. Think I'm there. Amazing. I hate technology. Okay. Guys, I'm just getting started. Just revving up. All right, guys, welcome back to Real Truth. Howard, real question. Would you like to live in California? Well, it's sunny and they got beaches and movie stars and all that stuff. My guess is you wouldn't like to live in California. The bad news is you may be living in California soon because the whole country, according to Ann Coulter, may soon become California. Here she is, Sean Hannity on Fox News. Let's go.
State immigration was a hot button topic, and Donald Trump that's that. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration, Chris. You wouldn't even be talking. I believe that the great majority of people coming here illegally have no other option. They want to provide for their family. And we need to control our border. I also believe we need a fence. The problem is that if Trump will build a tunnel under the fence, we have to be able to deal with that too. There's 7 billion people across the face of the globe, many of whom want to come to this country. If they come legally, great. But if they come illegally and they get amnesty, that is how we fundamentally change this country. There's international criminal organizations penetrating our southern-based borders, and we need to do something about it. Secure the border, enforce the law, no amnesty, and go forward with a legal immigration system to give priority to American working families and wages. Reaction.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely right. Americans are being outvoted by non-Americans. If you can think of anything more ludicrous than that, call me and tell me. Item. From the Truth Soldier, as Rush Limbaugh notes, Donald Trump has indeed made illegal immigration into an issue of national debate. The liberal media, and now apparently the chairman of the Republican Party, have objected to Trump's comments about criminal aliens. In fact, what Trump has done is jeopardize a plan that goes way beyond mere amnesty for illegals and which has been on the drawing board for more than a decade. Simply put, the plan is to submerge the sovereignty of the United States of America and politically integrate the U.S., Canada, and Mexico into a trilateral entity called the North American Union. The Council on Foreign Relations calls it a North American community, as if the corrupt culture and government of Mexico can be made to mesh with the democratic systems in the U.S. and Canada. It means open borders and more criminal aliens in the United States. Unquote. Item from Ron Paul. Among the items awaiting Congress when it returns from its August break is reconciling competing House and Senate bills reauthorizing No Child Left Behind. These bills passed early this spring. Each bill is being marketed as a huge step toward restoring state and local control over education. However, an examination of both bills shows that both provide local schools with only limited relief from a few federal mandates. The biggest problem with these so-called reform bills is that they do not significantly reduce federal education spending. Congress and the executive branch use the promise of, quote, free money, which they've taken from the American taxpayer, to convince state and local governments to allow the federal government to control the classrooms. The only way to protect American school children from schemes like Common Core is to repeal, not replace, the Federal Department of Education. Restoring local control over education would be a good step towards restoring constitutional government. However, simply replacing federal bureaucrats with state or even local bureaucrats will not create an education system capable of leaving no child behind. The key to real education reform is to give parents control over education by giving them control over the education dollar. When parents control the education dollar, schools must be responsive to parental demands that children receive a quality education that meets their unique needs. Therefore, if Congress is serious about improving education, it would defund the warfare welfare state, which would then allow dramatically reduced taxes. Congress could also end the Federal Reserve, thus freeing middle and working class Americans from the aggressive inflation tax. In order to make parental control meaningful, parents must be able to choose from a variety of educational alternatives. Thus, private schools, religious schools, and home schools must be allowed to compete in the free market without government interference. This would allow parents to choose an appropriate education for their children. The growing popularity of homeschooling has already created a thriving market in homeschooling curricula. Working with a team of scholars, I've developed my own homeschooling curriculum. My homeschooling curriculum provides students with a rigorous education in history, math, English, foreign languages, and other subjects. The curriculum is designed to benefit both college-bound students and those interested in pursuing other educational or career opportunities. The curriculum features 3 tracks. My friends, I'm going to cut it off here because we're about to go to a commercial break. We'll be back with more real truth. Don't go